and welcome. On today's show, it's my honor to have with us Brianna. She is also known as Front Porch Therapy on TikTok, where she shares about all things related to spirituality. So welcome, Brianna.
Hi, thank you for having me on your show today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Kind of a different way of me having a guest. I actually found you on TikTok where you share about all kinds of things related to the awakening and the movement into 5D consciousness. And I just loved the energy of which you brought forward all this information. So I'm so happy and honored that you agreed to come on and have this conversation. So, to begin, I would love if you could share with the viewers a little bit about your personal spiritual awakening and how you came to the awareness of having all of these gifts.
Yeah, so for me, what it was is I really started questioning things to begin with. Like I just started asking like who I am and like what are my talents? Like I could look around and I could see so many talents in all the different people I would meet, but I couldn't find like what is special about me? Like what is my talent? And then I started working in the medical field and that put me in contact with people that I thought were like at a higher level than me. So, and then I started realizing we're all the same. Like they're just like me. Like I'm seeing them above me. I'm seeing doctors and lawyers and just people you think are at higher statuses. I'm seeing them and I'm like, they're just like us. They're just like me. There's no separation there. And then I started really questioning, looking around, like, why is everybody on medication? Like everyone is medicated. Like, what is going on here? And then that kind of sparked me into my awakening. But the funny thing is, this has been trying to happen since 2012. Like, and I wasn't consciously aware of it. But in 2012, I felt it coming up in me. I felt something trying to come out of me. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let me get somewhere. Let me get somewhere safe so I can let all this come out. And then that set me down a path of getting my 3D life together. And I got myself out into a place to where I could have a safe space for all of this to come out of me. And that's exactly what happened when those questions started coming in. It was like, it was a spontaneous awakening. I really didn't have anything happen externally besides, me looking around like, oh my gosh, we're all the same. But like, why is everybody medicated? Like, what's going on here? And I woke up one night. I woke up out of my sleep. It felt like light rays were coming out of my body. Like I was looking at my arms and light rays were just coming out of my body. And I felt a spark come up the back of my head to the front of my head right here. And I felt my crown opening. It was the craziest experience to have from the human perspective of it. But that's exactly what happened. It was just a spontaneous awakening. And at the same time, there were so many things happening on top of each other at the same time. And it was very quick to where that happened. And then all of a sudden, like different abilities started coming in. Like I just had urges to go do just these different things. Like I was discovering, I would talk to the plants in a different language. I didn't even know what I was saying. I wasn't completely conscious of it. But I would go talk to the plants and they would grow. I would talk to the wind and it would move where I wanted it to move. So that was happening at the same time my abilities were awakening. And then I was moving into past lives and things I needed to clear from past lives. Everything from this life was coming up that I needed to clear and heal out of this lifetime. So it was like everything just happening on top of each other. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, I have to hold my household down. Like I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So I have to hold my 3D life down at the same time. So it was like all of this was overlapping each other. And it was just this huge spontaneous awakening. But now I can look back and see that this has been trying to happen the whole time.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you have any awareness of what was happening when you had that experience with, it sounds like your light body kind of activating? Did you know what was happening?
I had no idea. I had like absolutely no idea. And then I kept thinking because at the same time I started hearing source. I wasn't sure that it was source. Like I needed to build trust up and everything in it. But I wasn't aware that it was source, but I started hearing that and I was like, why are you talking to me? Like I'm just a normal person. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Which now I understand, like putting that on a pedestal, this is what we all are capable of. We all have the capacity to embody our higher selves to connect to source energy. But I had no idea. I went to psychologists, therapists, I even went to neurologists. I had brain scans. I did every kind of test you could do to make sure that nothing was wrong with my brain or nothing was going on with me.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up because I think the awakening process, depending on how sudden or gradual it is, can be like a real shock to the human version of us. And I know me personally, mine was so intense that I didn't feel like I was going to be able to live as a regular human in this 3D matrix. And it was very not sure the right word to use for it. I just felt very ungrounded and such high energy that it was such an integration process for me to feel like, okay, I can be connected to all of this, but I can also live a normal human life and have a family and all the responsibilities. So how did you adjust during that integration?
Oh goodness. For me, well, especially because I was getting the information that this is everybody. Like everybody has access to all of this. And it's kind of funny when you're in that state because it's like, oh my gosh, I need to know everything. Like I need to open up every ability. But
Mhm.
once you get through it, you're like, I don't need to know everything right now. If I need to know it, I have access to it. I can gain that information when I need it, or I can open this ability when I need it. But you're still kind of like in that ego set right there. But for me, I was like looking around. I'm like, everybody can do this. Why is everybody not doing this? I don't understand. But I was still having questions and stuff. And I'm like, am I really hearing source? Am I really hearing God? And then I'm like, you know what? If I'm hearing source energy, if I'm hearing God, I need to go to the church. I went to the church. That brought more confusion in for me. Everybody was telling me I was talking to demons. I'm like, how could this energy that I'm communicating with, that I'm interacting with, that if you felt what I'm feeling, there's no way that you would describe that to be demonic.
Mhm.
But it kind of pushed me to where like I was still building up trust in it and stuff like that. And the whole time, Source was like, I understand. I understand that you need to build up trust. I understand that we're building a relationship right now. I understand that you need to learn, you need to see things like whatever you need. Source was very patient with me,
Mm.
walked through everything with me, like calmed all the fear down in me, all the questions that I had. And that's the thing too with Source. Everyone says, don't ask questions, don't poke around, don't be too curious or whatever. And Source is like, no, ask all the questions. I will help you find every answer. Like I will bring every answer to you. Ask all the questions you need.
Mhm.
So going through that eventually built up like enough trust in me that I'm like, if this has been confirmed to me enough times, I would be crazy not to listen to it.
Right. That's awesome. And so when you say I hear source, are you actually hearing like clear audiently, or is it more like an inner communication? How do you experience that?
So when it's source energy takes over any other energy that's here. So it communicates in, it takes every form. So
Mm.
it's like sometimes I will be talking to people and like you won't, it'll be, sometimes it'll just be normal conversations, but you'll know when it's source energy because there's a specific frequency that comes with it. There's like a specific energy that comes with it. So
Mhm.
sometimes people will come and talk to me, and the words that they're saying, some of the words they're saying, I know it's source saying it through them. Sometimes animals, sometimes it's plants, sometimes it's just random things. It'll be songs on the radio, it'll be on the TV, it'll be I'll look down and see something on the ground, and it's like source is talking to me through anything and it will take the shape of everything around you.
Mm. Okay, so it's
And
more of
it's
a
more,
feeling into the frequency,
yeah.
not necessarily hearing another voice.
And this is the best way that I can describe to know that it's source energy talking to you because it's the life force energy that's within everything.
Mhm.
So whenever source is communicating with you, you feel the life force energy in you. You feel alive, like that extreme excitement, that the whatever moment you can think of in your life that's made you the most excited, times it by 100, and that's how you know it's source energy communicating with you.
Okay, that's a great way of putting it. So since we're kind of already on the topic of source, which I wanted to talk about next, I would love for you to share, and I realize everyone kind of has their own definition and understanding, but what do you view source as? What would be like your definition of source?
That's what I would say source is. It is the life force energy that is within everything. And it is the most unconditional love that you could, it's hard to even describe on the human perspective of it because it's like, think about like when you see a baby laughing, you know, that infectious laugh that babies have. It's that joy and that excitement, but the most nurturing energy, like you, like someone looking into your soul and seeing you and everything that is you and loving that, combined with like if you someone you love passes away, you know that unconditional love you feel for them in that moment of losing them. That's where all of your love comes out for that person. It's like all of that combined into one thing. And
Mhm.
to me, like it really feels hard to contain it in a human body because it's so much, it's so expansive.
Mhm. I love
And
that.
that's kind of like what my path is. Like I'm on the path of what you would say like a mystic. And it's really exciting because what it is like it's almost like playing tag with source or a scavenger hunt with source. Like you're looking for source in everything. But the other thing about it too is you are finding yourself in all of these things. And
Mhm.
that's like when you're looking for your passion or you're looking for your purpose, the things that you are looking into, that excitement that you're feeling, that source energy, that's you. So it's like stepping stones where you're finding yourself. So
Mhm.
for me, on my human side of myself, I'm looking for source in everything. And the more of parts that I find of source that I find of myself, I'm coming into union with source to where eventually source, I will be embodied source energy. So my soul journey will be removed and I will be embodying source energy. And that's when I will become the teacher and I'll be able to step into any identity so that way I can teach, I can heal, I can guide for whoever is needing service.
Mhm. That's wonderful. What would you offer to people who maybe feel like a deep sense of disconnection or feeling separate, or maybe someone who's never had these, intense spiritual experiences where you are connected to source? How would you recommend they start to connect and foster that relationship with source?
What I would say is the best thing is you really have to tune out of everything. You have to tune out of, excuse me, you have to tune out of anything like media is telling you or other people are telling you. What I recommend is getting a space where you can connect back to inside of you. Not what's rambling on in your mind, but like what's going on in here. Like you know what's best for you. And
Mm.
sometimes before you can get to opening up that communication with source, is you have to get to that still quiet space within yourself to where you can hear what you need for you. And
Mm.
like for me, that was getting a hammock. I just have a hammock outside and I go lay on my hammock and that's a space where it's quiet. I'm out in nature and I can connect back to myself.
Mhm. Okay, so really just getting quiet, shutting out the world, and tuning into whatever's going on in here, not in here, but more in the heart and the feeling.
Yeah, and it's like however that looks for you. And like I say all the time, like I know we talk about meditation, I know we talk about how we need to eat, just different things that we need to do in this experience to connect to our higher self or to source or whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, it's you just need to get in touch with you. Once you get in touch with you, you will align however you need to. Like if you're going to be meditating or whatever food, whatever your practices are going to be, that's all going to fall into alignment. You just need to connect back to you inside here.
Mhm, mhm. Love that. So perhaps we could kind of move into talking about our movement, both individually and collectively, from 3D to 5D. I'm sure, well, I know that there are so many people who are just now waking up. And so all of this may be news to them, and they may not fully understand or grasp what, some of us are referring to when we talk about that. So I'd love if you could share about your understanding of that movement.
Yeah, so that's actually why I'm here. Like on the soul side of things, I am what you would call, really, there's not a term for it. There's not terms for things like this in the spirit world. The humans love to give names to everything. But so in the spirit world, or in my soul perspective, I'm the one that goes around and creates the planets. And then every time those planets need to be upgraded, I come in to do the upgrade. So it's the same thing. Like if you wanted to build a house, you're not going to build the house yourself. You're going to call a builder. So
Mhm.
Source gives me the blueprints to create, bring into creation. I'm like the igniting force that brings in the creation. So right now, we are moving. I want you to picture it like the earth, like you're seeing. I see it as flat. I know everybody has, I don't, whatever you want to believe it is, I see it as flat. And we have these different energetic stages we can go into. So, like 3D, 4D, 5D, but it looks like a hologram, right? So, the physical moves up in energies,
Mhm.
right? And then, so part of my role is building the grid that goes into that energetic frame, which is almost like a template of how this, it's like a barrier or a border of the overall how we are going to function, what our systems are, those things are what those things are going to be, right? So
Mhm.
that's putting in the template for that. But the thing is, when you're moving, it changes your whole mindset. But not just for you, like the earth, too, like all of the people. We move up in consciousness and it changes the way that you are seeing, the way that you're relating, the way that you're reacting to things, right? It changes the way that you communicate with your outside world. So in 3D, we might see that we get caught up in all of these things and separations and divisions or dramas or just we take everything personally, right? We take everything like it's affecting us personally, like we're seeing all the separation and everything. When you're moving into 4D, that's where we see kind of like the war on consciousness. You know, everybody thinks they're in a spiritual war and they have to worry for energy vampires and that type of thing. But the other thing too, when you're in 3D energies, you are kind of seeing your lifetime now and like the things you've been through in this lifetime. And sometimes you'll see like the ancestral traumas, like things that you need to heal within this 3D life. But when you're moving into 4D, not only is it that you are seeing like you're in spiritual warfare, things like that, you
Mhm.
are also opening up to the other lives that you've had on this plane. So that's what you're seeing in the 4D energies is the different lifetimes you've lived on this plane. And everybody's had several on this plane. When you're moving up into 5D energies, that's where you are connecting back to source. But like we were talking about integration, it's also an integration process because you will connect back to source energy and you know that's the spark inside of you, but you will also connect to your soul's journey. So where your soul has been the theme of like what you do throughout the cosmos, what you do, like your mission pretty much is kind of there's like a theme that plays out through your entire soul's journey and what you're doing in each lifetime. So you'll start opening up to that and how you've been doing that on different planets, different planes, just the things like that. And then you also open up into right now we're still seeing 3D energies, but eventually once it moves all the way up, like enough of us move up into it, the 3D energies will be closed. But
Mhm.
right now you may still come into contact with people who are in 3D energies, and then when you're operating in a 5D energy, you're like, oh, okay, that has nothing to do with me. Like, I'm not going to get caught up in all that drama and all that kind of, it has nothing to do with me. You don't take things personally anymore. You see it from a higher perspective. But eventually we'll all be moved into that. So it's kind of like we have a green light to embody our higher selves now. It's safe to do that now. And what it's looking like what I see with us moving into the 5D energies is kind of like everybody it's going to be like a playground almost. That's what I'm seeing is it's like a playground for souls, not only to create like art and music and all the different ways that we love to express ourselves, but in the way that we create our realities and things like that. But there's not going to be hierarchical structures, there's not going to be religions and things like that, because everybody's going to be in alignment. When you're in that 5D energy, you're connected to the spark inside of you that is source. So
Mhm.
there is no need for all of that anymore. There's no need for governmental systems because you already know what to do. You don't need someone to tell you what to do, and you don't need someone to tell you to be involved in your society or your communities. Every soul wants to have a purpose. Nobody just wants to come here like we see where we see people really taking or, you know, when they get stuck in depression and things like that. No, souls don't want to live like that. Souls want to have a purpose. They want to participate with the collective. Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. Wow, that's an incredible way to describe that. So, there's a lot of language. Again, language is limiting, right? But language about new Earth, what 5D is going to look like. And, some people think that we're actually moving to another planet, but I'd love for you to tell me your understanding of what 5D is going to look like for Earth.
So I think the rapture really got everybody caught up and we're gonna be going somewhere else.
Mhm.
But what it is you remember how I was talking about the energetic template?
Mhm.
That template is dissolving because when like I came into Earth this time, and normally I have a background. Like I don't really come out and speak. I just kind of have an observant thing. Like I'm just observing and seeing what needs to be changed, and then energetically we'll change that, almost like you would change the coding in a computer program. And then I just exit, I go on about my business. But this time I came in and it's like I reviewed governmental systems, I reviewed banking systems, insurance, healthcare, and then religious systems. And the thing was, the systems, it was more of the people. The people were asking for change. So it was more of an issue with the people and where we need to go from there. But in the religious systems, it was like this rapture and all this kind of stuff. It's getting people stuck. It's getting people very stuck and they're not being able to move forward. So with that, people think we're going to be going, like we're going to be lifting up into the sky and moving and things like that. But that's not what it is. That energetic template is dissolving. So we're moving to the new energetic template, and that's how we'll operate.
Mhm.
Now, if you have your consciousness stuck in a lower template, like this is what I'm talking about with it's not really visions that I'm having. It's like I'm experiencing the different timelines on top of this one. So I'm experiencing what they're experiencing in this timeline at the same time as I'm speaking to you now. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And so when I was experiencing it, the people that were stuck, they were keeping their consciousness stuck at a 3D level while we were moving up. And keeping them stuck there was causing a lot of chaos for them. It was causing a lot of fear for them. But we're not moving anywhere in the physical body.
Mhm.
We're moving energetically. We're moving in consciousness. So it's almost like you will be embodied. You will be embodying your higher self in your physical body, which is kind of a great thing because we get so stuck in all of these different things. And it's like you just get stuck. There's so many things to get stuck to here. So
Mhm.
when you're operating from a 5D consciousness, you're more lighthearted. You don't take things so seriously. It's just easier to live. It's easier to flow.
Mhm. Okay. And so talking about that movement and raising our consciousness to 5D rather than us relocating to another planet, my understanding is this is very much an individual process. Yet, when you talk about something like the rapture, or in the spiritual community, they refer to it as the event. What is your understanding of that? Is there going to be a planetary event that moves us into 5D as a collective?
So I asked if I could see this, so I can bring information to the people because there's so many people worried about it. There's been so much fear put out around this, and that's really kind of what I want to help to dissolve is the fear and the confusion around it. But when I asked to see this, I was brought back to the glimpses I was having.
Mhm.
So what I was seeing when and I didn't see one specific event like that. And when I'm having my glimpses, they can seem like they happen like this because time works differently. But here in the physical, where we are now, it's like it lasts longer. It's not a sudden event like that. So
Mhm.
yes, I'm seeing the solar energy and stuff come in, and it's kind of like kicking dirt up within us. It's kicking stuff up within us that we need to heal. But the main things that I was seeing, like when it started kicking off, I was brought into a space where it was splitting, where the physical realm was moving up in vibration. And there were those that did not want to deal. And it's not that they don't want to deal with it. This is what we see on a 3D level, or what you would say 3D level. We see them not wanting to deal with stuff inside of them. We see them not wanting to do shadow work, things like that. But really, on a soul level, they chose to go that way. And a
Right.
lot of times, those souls are helping the ones moving into higher energies, especially the ones that are going to be teaching things like that. They wanted to be the catalyst to make sure that you've cleared out what you got going on, so you can move up in the energies. Like
Mhm.
they chose to go that way.
Right.
But in the 3D realm, or in those energies, what I was seeing was they thought a planet was coming in on them. I'm seeing it separate. I'm seeing the physical planet move forward, and they're still stuck in the consciousness. And it's projecting out to where they're seeing a reflection of the planet. So they're seeing a planet. They think the planet's coming in on them. This is the same as them seeing their reflection coming in on them. Everything inside of them they're not dealing with is
Okay.
starting to face them.
Okay.
But what they were seeing was a planet, and they thought it was going to crash in on them. And this created so much fear within all of the people that everything inside of them that they couldn't deal with, that now manifested in a physical energy. And they thought it was demons, but it's really just the energy inside of yourself. It's that denser, heavier energy that was stuck within inside of them.
Mhm.
And I did see a lot of people committing suicide, and things like that. And I know that can be a heavy thing if you're still looking from a lower energy, if you're looking from a 3D energy. That can be a heavy thing to talk about. But when you look at the soul side of it, you understand exactly what's happening. You understand why they're going through what they're going through, that they wanted to go through what they're going through. Like, you get it, you understand it, you're seeing from a higher perspective.
Mhm.
On the opposite side, the souls that were choosing to move into the 5D energies, they were going through, it kind of like how I went through the light body awakening, but it's a heart chakra awakening. It's a heart chakra awakening. They feel light flooding into their body. And what they thought was happening, they thought they were going through judgment with God. And some of them tried to hold on to, like, oh no, I'm bad, I'm not worthy, that type of thing. But when source sheds that light on you, it's not with judgment, and it's not with guilt or shame or anything like that. It's complete love and acceptance around, these are the things you went through. This is how you were affected, different things like that. But this is why. Let's look at this with love. Let's look at, it's really loving, healing energy, so you can let it go.
Mm.
And that's what's happening when it's splitting like that, is these ones are letting go of that lower energy because they're moving away from it. So it's ridding their bodies, but it's happening at like a quick pace, like a rapid pace.
Okay.
And these ones right here, the light has left their bodies. So now they're just stuck with this energy, the
Mm.
scary energy. But these ones moving into the 5D energies, after they went through that heart chakra awakening and understanding that they're not going through judgment with God, that their soul is purging all of the denser energies so they can move forward, they started opening up into their abilities and stuff. And then there are people like me, and we're scattered out through all the continents. All of them, I feel like they should already be at the point where they know, but we've already been, kind of, I don't want to say it's, to me it feels like a glimpse because I experienced it in real time. So you've already been made aware of your abilities, but it's so we can teach, and it's not going to be us anymore. Like, my soul on the soul side of it is already integrating back into source. So
Mm.
I'm like at the end of my soul's journey, and it's already integrating back into source. Well, I will be embodied source energy. So
Mm.
it won't be me anymore. It'll just be source energy. And it's like a multi-purpose tools. Like, we'll be the multi-purpose tools to help everybody learn or jump into this ability or move into the new energies. So those things are happening there, moving into the 5D energy. But it's really exciting though, because there's so much more celebration, there's so much more community, and I'm just super excited for that. But there is a period where everybody is kind of like, okay, now we have to move on with life. Like, what
Mm.
do we do now? Type of thing. Like, we're free. What do we do? And there's a lot of just kind of a little bit of being stuck energy. Like, what do we do now? Like, we can do anything. So what do we do? So
Oh.
there was a little bit of that energy there. But ultimately, it moved into a lot more celebration, a lot more creativity, a lot more community. Just in the beginning stages of it, it was just a whole lot of celebrating, a lot of community, a lot of coming together, a lot of love. The energy just felt so much lighter on the earth
Mm.
after the process completely split.
Wow. That's incredible. I've never heard anyone describe it like that. So when you talk about those that are choosing to move into 5D, which I love your choice of words because ultimately it is a choice on a soul level. And those who still want to play in 3D are going to have that option. But for those that are moving into 5D, it sounds like, I don't know if you've ever listened to near-death experiences, but we experience like a life review. It almost sounds like it's that type of experience.
That's exactly what it is, but still
Okay.
in your body.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So you are given an opportunity while still in your body, even though an elevated version of your body, to clear any wrongdoings, or not even wrongdoings, but the stuff that you feel inside because of that, to clear that, to raise yourself to that frequency, to be able to live in that elevated state.
Yeah, and it's like it's exciting too because like I told you with when you're connected to source energy, when you're connected to that, it fills you with life. So
Mhm.
people are living longer. People are living however long they want to live until they decide that they just want to move on. But that initial it felt heavy for some of them,
Mhm.
but once that light has penetrated through everything in you, you start to love yourself in a different way.
Mhm.
So like when they're moving through like the life review, I guess, they're not getting stuck in it. They're moving through it, but it's like breaking their heart open to love themselves, love and compassion for everything that they went through, all the different experiences they've had. It's completely resetting you, like resetting your whole experience.
Mm. Yeah, it's all coming together now because, you hear some near-death experiencers and they share about experiencing hell-like realms. And my understanding is all of that is a projection. It's a creation of everything going on inside of them, all their fear. If they really believe they're going to go to hell, they might experience that. But it almost sounds like in this event that is happening individually with everyone based on where they are.
Yeah, that's exactly like you can create that. Like you can create kind of like a hellscape for yourself. Like even like how I say that they're moving through and they're seeing their fears and stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of times it's not even fear, it's shame and guilt and just it's so sad that humans have been made to feel guilty and shameful, you
Mhm.
know, like just around the different experiences that they've had and stuff. But a lot of times that's what it is. Like that heavy energy is like a lot of shame and guilt. The fear is coming from around what's happening with that shame and guilt, like what's going to happen to me and things like
Right.
that. But that being projected outside of them and seeing demons is kind of like people, like when they pass on, creating a hellscape for themselves, but it doesn't last because that's not really the true. That's what humans create here. Like we love to create fear and chaos, and it's like give them free will to create chaos. Like that's crazy. But there is a purpose. There is a purpose for all of that. Like nothing was done and it's like, I really want people to get over the we have something to battle, like there's an enemy, like things like that, because that's just not the case. It's all a learning process. It's all part of the evolution and it all served a purpose.
Mhm. That's really a great point because if you look at the state of the world right now, it's very polarized, right? There's a lot of conflict going on. It's right versus left and dark versus light. And, there is this energy of there is someone to fight. There is a villain. And so how would you recommend moving through that and really kind of coming up to a higher perspective?
That's where I talk about going into yourself, and you have to want to do it. Like, just for the government, with the government, for example, I'll talk about that. You have to want to move out of that energy of they took from me, or they did this, or they're causing all this chaos and all this, all you have to want to move out of all that. You have to connect into yourself and be like, this is not good for you. Because if you feel what all that is doing to your body, you would be like, no, I
Mm.
don't want to go that way. I don't want to be in that way. But when you go into a higher perspective, because source is acting through everybody. So
Mhm.
when source is acting through the government and it's taking advantage of the people, it's teaching us that we no longer need something to govern us.
Mhm.
We can come together as a community and take care of each other without someone governing us or managing our resources for us or things like that. We can choose to work together and create better lives and better futures for all of us. So
Mhm.
that's what it's teaching us. And sometimes it's the harsher lesson that's really going to make you learn, instead of being like, hey, we can play together, we can be nice, like we can do.
Right.
When somebody's actively taking your stuff and you're like, hey, like, hold on a second, like we can work together, we can figure this out, this does not feel good.
Mhm.
It makes it to where you definitely want to make sure like we don't do that again, you know
Right, right. Wow, that's amazing. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit, which we already kind of started touching on this. We're talking about near-death experiences and what happens when our souls pass on. But I would love if you could share your understanding about the death process.
so with the death process, the thing, first of all, I want to talk about like when someone around you dies.
Mhm.
Now, that it breaks your heart open. You feel unconditional love for that person. It's all the love that you didn't really express to them when they were here. And the reason I think this is because when they die and they're passing over, they're passing back into unconditional love. So you connected to them as they're passing over. You are feeling that unconditional source energy while they're passing through, because you're connected to them while they're going through the process. So
Mhm.
it's opening you back up to source energy going through that. The other thing I want to say is when you get to the point where you feel like you're going to die, and I think a lot of the stuff going on now, that's the purpose it's serving. Because when you get to the point where you're like, okay, we're going to die, I'm going to die, like I'm just going to submit to it, it is what it is. You come to a place of peace. Like, think about people like that have cancer, different things like that. Like, people that just know that they're going to die. How are they acting? What state are they in? I'm just going to live my life. I forgive everybody. I'm at peace with that, everybody and everything. I'm going to enjoy my moments that I have here. I'm going to enjoy my life here. That is our original state. Like, that's because you're so close to source energy. Like, that's how we are meant to be acting all the time. So, but the death process, though, it's scary on the human side of it, on the human perspective of it, like leading up to it. Like, you'll experience fear there, but it's so quick. It's so quick that you move forward past it. And then that's the thing, like I was saying, when you go, I guess I've already kind of described it. Like when you go through the life review and everything, and you just feel everything. Like, you, not even what you have felt, but what the people around you have felt in relation to you, or just different things that you have done. And a lot of times that's why the souls come back, because it's like, oh gosh, let me do that again. Let me try that again. I gotta redo that. I gotta relearn that lesson, that type of thing. But that's what I bring about the death process, because there's so much mourning. And I get it. I get it. And I don't want to sound like I'm being insensitive, but it's really an exciting thing to move back, to move back into the source energy. It should be a celebration and not a mourning process.
Mhm. Yeah, I think about that a lot, that we're actually mourning for our own loss and not for that
Yeah.
soul liberation, which is kind of a selfish thing, but it's totally normal. It's a part of the human experience to experience loss and grief. What would you offer to someone who is grieving a loss of a loved one? What would you say to them?
Oh, that's hard, because when you lose someone, you get really, really stuck in that energy,
Mhm.
because it's almost like you lose a part of yourself, because you're energetically connected to that person. So you are, in a sense, losing that energetic connection to the person, but you're not really. Every time something reminds you of that person, it's their spirit calling you through that thing. And they will hover around you to let you know how much they loved you and appreciated the time with you and the things that you did together in the lifetime. And a lot of times, sometimes they'll hang around and like I've had one, I've had just different spirits come through and talk to me. I had one that didn't even know he was dead. He died in such a traumatic experience that he did not know. So he was just hanging on. Like he just thought he was taking care of all of his family members and they just couldn't hear him and he couldn't understand why. So he was just hanging around them anyway, making sure that they were protected. Like he was using his energy to make sure they were protected. But a lot of times they'll hang around you and they'll point themselves out through different things to you, trying to bring peace to your heart, trying to bring love to your heart, so that way you can accept the release of the connection and things like that. But that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to say because it gets you stuck in the denser energies,
Mm-hmm.
like the 3D energies, like we would say. Going through loss can get you heavily stuck in those energies to where it's hard to hear anything else anyone is saying to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really something you have to go through personally and process on your own to dig yourself out of that hole. But I'm hoping, which it probably definitely will, if we're moving all into 5D energies, I see it being more of a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm embodying my higher self, that's how I see it. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, why are you sad that they're not here anymore? It is not fun to be here right now.
Right, right. And so when, you know, us humans, we get stuck in grief because we lost someone, um, and we get stuck and we're not moving forward. Can we actually keep them from moving forward by not letting go of them? I've kind of heard of that concept, but I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
I don't really have experience with that about holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I started opening up, that was one of the gifts that came through for me. And for me, it was very overwhelming because the spirits that were hanging around did not, it's not like they were like, hey, my name is this. Can I come talk to you? It was like, she can hear me. She can see me. Oh my gosh, you have to talk to these people. It was very like in my face, like in my house, in my bedroom, like just popping up everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there has to be some boundaries here. Like
Right.
there has to be boundaries. So I shut myself off from that experience because it was not fun. Like I would just have, there would be a spirit sitting next to me when I'm waking up. Okay, you're awake. Can you please go tell this person this? Can you please
Mm-hmm.
relay this message? And I'm like, okay, hold on. This is uncomfortable for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want some privacy for myself.
Right.
But the ones that I did speak with, I did not encounter any that were being held back. There were some that chose to be guides to people that they still had here living. They chose to be guidance for them. That one was the only one that I had, and he died very abruptly. Like it was very sudden, it was very traumatic. And I wound up having to go through the death process with him. Like I had to walk through the accident and everything with him before he grasped what happened.
Wow.
And he had a grandmother who had passed away who was waiting for him in the afterlife to walk him through to walk. There's usually somebody there. I'm assuming that's with everybody. That's the experience that I had with it. There's usually somebody there that's walking with you.
Mm-hmm.
And she was hanging around waiting on him, and he couldn't even open up his perception that she was there. I'm like, how are y'all both in the spirit world, but you can't see each other? Like, how does that work? But she was hanging around waiting on him to be ready to move on. And
Mm-hmm.
he was very limited in his human state. Like he just had a lot of things he was dealing with, so he was very limited. And the amount of excitement he experienced when he realized, oh my gosh, I can open up to this consciousness, like I can move wherever I want to go. Like, and then he just got really excited that he could move into a new state of being and that he could explore or he could go on and do other things. So he wound up leaving. But I talked to Source and I'm like, hey, I just needed to be us. Like I don't want to deal with spirits like that all the time. Like it's just too much for me to have them come in and just kind of like they want to take over kind of.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds
I'm
like
like,
you essentially helped cross him over.
yeah, well, I don't feel like I did. It was just helping him see. But I did not like the experience because when I went through it with him, I felt it like I was him. So
Oh,
that is not like an experience that I'm trying to continuously have with spirits. I know that can that might sound insensitive, but for me personally, I'm not trying to be open to that experience.
mm-hmm. So it sounds like we have a lot of choice, regardless of the gifts that come natural to us. We have a choice of what we want to participate in and foster and focus on.
Yeah, definitely. And see, this is where I think ego comes into play, where some people are like, I have all of these abilities, and
Mhm.
just but you can tap into anyone. You can have access to anyone that you want to have. It just depends on what you're going to be doing. Like when I'm seeing into 5D energies and everybody's abilities are open, because once the 3D energy closes, it opens up access to all the abilities for the 5D energies.
Mhm.
And so it was so cool to see like people building houses and stuff. Like they were moving the material with their mind instead of having to pick everything up and stuff. Like they could just like what do we call it? Telekinesis. Is
Mhm.
that moving it with
Yeah.
mind? They were just moving things like that. But say if you wanted to do something else, you would tap into those abilities. And you can always change, but usually a soul is like, okay, I want to come down there and I want to be focused on this one thing. So I want the knowledge and the abilities to go with this one thing. But
Mhm.
if you wanted to tap into the others, you could.
Mhm. How cool. I always wondered, like, what are our homes going to look like in 5D, when we're actually ascended as a Earth? Are we going to be living in houses with similar structures? Or are they going to be like tree houses? But I'm kind of guessing that it's whatever you want to experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because we have so much judgment around how people want to live. Like if people want to live in mansions or like you're wrong to be able to live however you want to live. But in reality, however your soul, it's kind of another way of expressing yourself as how your home is. And
Yep.
some people do want to live in tree houses. Some people want to live in mansions. Some people want to live in boat houses. It's just however you want to live. I do see more innovations coming in with the homes, but in the beginning, what I'm seeing, because when I see it, um, so the energy that I'm seeing right now in that I can't see too much farther ahead of it. Like the way I describe it is like being in a pond and there's ripples coming out from you. That's the time. So the time around me, I'm in this time right now, but I can experience the past time and the future time just as strongly as this one. And then the outer ripples are even farther back or even farther forward. But the farther I go out, the vibration's not as strong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the closest vibration, we are starting to change the way our structures are, but it's mainly more of allowing people to be how they want to be and live how they want to live
Mhm.
and not judging people based off of the experiences that they choose. But I do see everybody, like the whole housing and everybody being in lack of just all the resources. I see everybody having access to resources. I see everybody having home, everybody having food. Like that's not going to be an issue anymore.
Wow, that's incredible. So, this really wasn't on our list of topics, but I would love if we could move into this a little bit. You talked a little bit about there's judgment for, say, if you want to have a big house or you want to drive a nice car. And that kind of ties in with money and the energy of money. And sometimes a lot of spiritual people have such judgments about money, and like how if you're spiritual, you shouldn't want money or it shouldn't be important. What are your views on that?
So I think a lot of things we have been conditioned to see money in certain ways, and it's different for everybody how you experience money. But overall, like we have been conditioned to everybody be chased and want to be millionaires and different things like, but that's not going to bring you the fulfilled feeling that you want. So in 5D energies, the energy around money is not I need to go get this much money or this. It's more of I'm creating this. It's going to bring in resource. The resource will match how I'm wanting my life path to go. type
Mhm.
of thing. And this is what I love about the astrology community, because when I started waking up, like it was like I told you, I was going through that process of having to trust and having to learn everything. And I was like, no, I need to see it on paper. I need to see it on paper. I know you're telling me. I know I'm getting confirmation. I need to see it on paper. So I learned astrology and human design. I went and had hypnosis done, Reiki, quantum healing. I'm like, I went and had everything done because I'm like, no, I need to see it on paper.
Mhm.
But in astrology, everybody's like, oh, yeah, this person wants to live in a hut and that's going to be their most fulfilled life. This person wants to live in a mansion and have their hair did every day and eat the best foods, and that's their fulfillment, you know? Like everybody has a different path that's going to fulfill them. So it's like some people, it's the smallest things. Like, but they're chasing right now, they've been taught to chase money so much, they are missing their fulfillment, and it's the smallest thing.
Mhm.
The other thing is, too, me and Source were talking about this the other day, because there are people here, there are souls here that are Source wanting to experience the creation. So you like, and this is the thing too, we don't know what people have been through in their past lives. We don't know what they've been through already. So they may have already completed all of their levels and now they are just Source experiencing the creation. They are not going to be paying for anything. Like they are walking through life right now with a free pass. Do you get what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that comes with giving things for free. And um I think people don't realize that sometimes. I think people don't realize that sometimes somebody comes across your path and you would know energetically if you were tuned into yourself, oh, that person has a walking pass in this lifetime, you know? But
Mhm.
we want to charge a bit of money and stuff like that. But that's Source trying to experience creation. And
Mm.
the thing is, when you're charging money, so like the person that is has a free pass in life for this lifetime, you wouldn't charge them money because it's not the information or what you're giving to them isn't really going to change their life that much because they're already there. They're already set. But
Mhm.
the person that's going to charge a lot of money to is the person who's going to experience major life transformation from that interaction.
So it's truly just an energetic exchange based
Hmm.
on the value that it's offered. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, how cool. This has been such an uplifting conversation. Again, I just love how you bring forth information in a whole new way that I'm not used to hearing. But I'd love to kind of just open the floor to have you share about anything else that you feel called to bring forth. Any information, any messages?
The biggest thing I want to say, just coming from the human perspective, because when I started awakening, listening to everybody else and the fear and the confusion that was circulating in the community is what that was the biggest hindrance to me. It was the biggest hindrance. And like I don't want to invalidate anybody or anything like that, but I'm just saying if you start going through this, if you start noticing that you're awakening, if you start noticing your higher self's trying to come in, different things like that, please listen to yourself. Please go inside and listen to yourself. You're going to learn either way, because for me, I definitely learned to listen to myself and trust my intuition, and I had to learn discernment through it. But I could have saved myself a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of running from it because I was terrified, because the human perspective of it made me so terrified. When in reality, when I finally let myself connect, it is the deepest love you could ever feel. Like just being seen in that way. Like I don't need anything. Like all of a sudden, like I didn't need to go chase anything. I didn't need to go make money. I didn't need, like, just being outside on my hammock fulfilled me. And
Mhm.
that's all I was searching for, was being fulfilled. And I was so scared to connect to that because of the fear circulating in this community. This energy will bring you so much joy and excitement. I'm telling you, I'm laughing all the time. Like you just feel so much lighter and so much happier. And I think really that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking to be seen and heard and understood and loved and connected. And that's what this comes with. And when we all connect to that, it's connecting all of us. It's bringing all of us together. So please do not pay attention to any of the fear you see out here. You're not in a war with anyone. There's no enemy. There's all that stuff's going to keep you from moving forward. Of course, it's your choice. Like you might go through it and learn discernment the same way that I did. So there is purpose for it. But just be more lighthearted about it. It's not scary. It doesn't have to be scary.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Brianna. I love that message. And I will link your TikTok channel in the description box. I highly recommend you all check her out, give her a follow. I know you share a lot of information just on different topics, manifestation, spiritual awakening, all kinds of different little insights that you're dropping. So again, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for being willing to come on here and share your insight and your wisdom with us, and sharing source energy above all else. So
Oh,
thank
yes, you are so welcome. I'm looking forward to when we are all connected and I'm seeing celebrations in the streets.
Yes. All right. Well, keep in touch. Take care.
Thank you.